Greetings, mind crafters, and welcome to another exciting Minecraft discussion. My name is Kimberly Quinn, your hostess with the mostest, and I am here to help people become the boss of their brain. And as you know, Mindcraft is all about becoming the boss of your brain and uh, all the rest of it. We talk about being mindful and being grateful, and we talk about clarity. And today I wanted to pull those all together to talk about how important it is to keep our mind focused on love. And I'm not talking about religion here. I'm talking about love as an action word, a verb, just like we talk about gratitude and clarity and any of these other things we're talking about, to be clear, right? It would actually be an adverb, but we're talking about love as a verb, loving and and thanking and all and appreciating and all of that. And so my inspiration for today is Rhonda Byrne. Again, she's author of Magic. She's also author of The Power, and also the author of The Secret. And I just, man, I was kind of just sifting around and like figuring out what I was going to do. And I read a few power quotes, and that's what pulled me into this. So one of them is by Kierkegaard and says, when one has fully entered the realm of love, the world, no matter how imperfect, becomes rich and beautiful. It consists solely of opportunities for love. And Kierkegaard was obviously a philosopher in the early to mid 1800s. And oh my gosh, that's such a striking quote. And Rhonda says, that's really our main job. And this other thing, I keep talking about our main job of keeping ourselves filled up, right? And how, my dear friend Oprah talks about that too, and talks about how, when people saying she's full of herself, you're so full of yourself, you're so full of yourself. She says, yes, exactly, I am. I'm keeping myself filled up. Well, part of the keeping ourselves filled up, right? It's because we cannot give what we do not have. When we keep ourselves filled up and focused on love, the cup overflows and we can be loving to other people. So, again, the idea is not to talk about organized religion, though you can certainly, if that fits into your belief system, that's fantastic. What I'm really just having a conversation about today is regular, everyday human behavior being focused on love. And Rhonda says, your job is to love as much as possible every day. So that has me thinking about small things, letting somebody get in front of you in line, right? And then there's all the pay it forward stuff with you buying somebody a cup of coffee who's behind you or whatever. But we're not talking about even money. We're talking about like or giving in that way. Definitely we are, I guess. But mostly I'm talking about the thoughts behind it. The thoughts behind it. She said, if you can just love and adore everything you possibly can today, look for and feel the things you love and turn away from the things you don't love. And tomorrow's will overflow with the untold happiness of everything you want and love. This is also making me think of recently when I was listening to Abraham Hicks. I listened to her also a lot, and just waking up with this idea of focusing on love. She also talks about wake up sort of seeking out feeling good, seeking out what feels good, moving towards what feels better to you, what feels good, moving away from what doesn't feel good. And we're not talking about we're not talking about being shallow Hal and, ooh, I don't care. I don't want it. We're talking about that inner knowing of this is good for me. This is going to give me a lift today. Spending time with this person is good for me. This lunch choice is good for me. Going outside of my lunch hour is good for me. Moving away from the negative Nellies, moving away from the mindless use of our life minutes, just wasting them, and to really be focused on that, because this ties directly into what we're talking about. And then here's another one. Oliver Wendell Holmes, right? He was in the early 18. Wow, he lived a long time. 1809 to 1894. Love is the master key that opens the gates of happiness. Love is the master key that opens the gates of happiness. Apparently, he was the dean of the Harvard Medical School. Who knew? I guess a lot of people. I often say that gratitude is also the master key that opens the door, the gates to happiness. So that isn't any surprise, because gratitude is sort of the highest expression of love there could possibly be. So I guess they together are the master keys to opening the door to a happier exhilarating life. And then, this is where they all come together. So, love and gratitude. We've been talking a lot about mindfulness, right? And mindfulness, as people get it confused a lot with other things, mindfulness is about being awake and alert, present in this moment without judgment, as if your life depended on it. That is very paraphrased from John Kabat-Zinn, but that's basically it. So the thing is, love is about being alert and awake, not, when we're binging on Netflix or we're zoning out. The autopilot thing, we've talked about autopilot a lot, right, in these episodes. Autopilot is the biggest thief of life minutes there could possibly be. So that isn't any different when we're talking about being loving and kind. And so Rhonda says you have to be alert to feel the love of everything around you, right? Because we have to take it in. That makes great sense. You have to be aware of everything that's around you to love. Otherwise, you will miss things. You have to be alert to see the things that you love. You have to be alert to hear the sounds that you love. You have to be alert to catch the beautiful smells of flowers as you walk past them. So love is mindfulness too. Love is gratitude. Love is being mindful and being present. She says you have to be alert to really taste the food you're eating and feel the fullness of the flavors. Also true. If you're walking down the street listening to the thoughts in your head, you miss it all. Amen, sister. She is preaching to the choir. I was just talking about this with my cog psych students, many of whom took Minecraft, so they, like, three-quarters of them kind of knew what I was saying. But if we are not present in this moment right now, we're missing out on our lives. That's just very plain and simple. That's the facts. If you are not present in the moment in your life, actively engaged in your life, you are missing out on your valuable life minutes, which means you're missing out on your life, and that's just it. You can't get them back. Circle in the drain, never to return. That's the cold, harsh truth. And then she says, and that's what happens to people a lot of the time. Yes, we know that, and it can be so difficult to stay present in this day and age, which, to be quite honest, I think is very, not just sad, it's tragic. They hypnotize themselves by listening to the thoughts in their head. And so they're in a kind of a trance and they're not aware of anything going around them. That was mega descriptive. I see that trance going on a lot out in the world. I see it on campus with students who are looking down at their phones, walking. Sometimes I'll just kind of stand there and wait till they're almost about to bump into me. And they're like, "Oh, sorry." And hopefully they're getting that. Like you're like, you're in that device that's, just make pretend land, missing out on everything going on campus. And even on a gloomy day, that's bad enough. But sometimes it's the fall. And Champlain College, where I teach and where I love it, is has one of the most gorgeous campuses in the world. I mean, it's just spectacular. It's in New England, obviously, Vermont. And when the leaves turn and Lake Champlain is there and the Adirondacks are there, the leaves are turning colors and how are you looking at a phone? I can't even figure it out. I'm not trying to judge. I just don't get it. So, anyway, so this is another thing when I was just skimming earlier, and I know what I was doing. I was working on my book proposal because I'm writing another book right now, and I'm so freaking excited I could implode because I get on a writing jag and I'm in the flow zone. But anyway, I was reading this and I made a note to myself in the margin to quote that in my book, because Mindcraft is all about throwing a lasso around the mind, or I think of it as, we've used this analogy before, like a gorgeous, thoroughbred, beautiful, beautiful animal flying around a racetrack, so graceful yet with also this magnificence of strength and power and focus. Yet the person controlling this magnificent life force, right, is like a 92-pound jockey. It's a beautiful analogy for us gaining control of the brain, because when we let it run off, it's like it takes on a life of its own, and it doesn't usually go anywhere good. It's like a rambunctious 2-year-old. So Rhonda says this: sometimes your mind can take off like a freight train down a mountain without a driver. If you don't stay in control of it, you are the driver of your mind. So take charge and keep it busy with your instructions by telling it where you want it to go. Amen. Your mind only takes off on its own if you're not telling it what to do. I could not have put that better myself. Just like the whole thoroughbred thing. If you just let the animal run, no jockey, it'd be off and gone, and probably land itself in harm's way, right? Of course. And then, oh, what is this one? Ancient Hindu. The mind acts like an enemy for those who don't control it, and that's Bhagavad Gita, the ancient Hindu text. It's hard to read her handwriting. Okay, the ancient Hindu text. So your mind is powerful and a magnificent tool if you can use, but you must be in control of it. Rather than letting it distract you with out of control thoughts, you want your mind to help you give love. It doesn't take long to train your mind to focus on love. Once you have, just watch what happens in your life. No question. And so she talks about Rhonda Byrne in her book The Power talks about ways to do this. And basically, her main strategy here is to ask questions throughout the day. Like, let's say you're on your way into work and you park the car. Or if you're fortunate enough that you can walk or bike, good for you. And I'm walking into Champlain's beautiful campus every day from my car because we live an hour and 10 minutes away. But on that nice walk with the beautiful scenery and everything else, I can just ask myself, what can I see that I love about my atmosphere, right? Thankfully, my eyes work. I can see Lake Champlain and the mountains and the students and the beautiful grounds, the campus. And UVM campus, I have to walk through that, and that's pretty also. I have to say, I think Champlain is way more beautiful, but I'm biased. And it's also, it's on the lake and it's just so gorgeous. And what can I see that thrills me? She says. What can I see that excites me? Try asking yourself these questions tomorrow on your way into work, in the car, the train, or the bus, or whatever you're on. Then you might be sitting in the most boring, you know, business meeting ever. Ask yourself in the middle of the most boring business meeting ever, what about this excites me? Just you might have to. It might be like pulling a molar, okay? But think about it. There might be a person in there that you like. You're thinking about having lunch with. I don't even mean romantically, or it can be that. Think about, you like the wallpaper, you like the paint, you like the vase that's on a desk, you like what somebody's wearing who's 3 people away from you. You like that it's going to be over in 20 minutes. You can go on to what you really want to do. But, think about something you're passionate about. Or maybe if the meeting truly is that boring, think about whether you choose to be brave enough to say it or not is another thing. But how do you think you could make the meeting far more enticing for everybody in the room? And maybe start writing that stuff down carefully, very carefully. If there's too much data, too much numbers, write that down. More human engagement. Maybe add some humor in. Maybe have a break in the middle. Maybe start the meeting off with a gratitude go around it. I mean, I do this in every single class I teach. It takes less than 5 minutes, and that's with 15 students. So, but probably like 3 minutes, maybe, unless somebody kind of goes off a little, but they usually don't. Maybe have it be someone's turn each week to look up a good joke. So it's just one joke, gratitude, then one joke, something. But you can actually brainstorm. What do I love? What do I love about what's going on in this room? What do I love about what I'm looking at? What excites me? What am I passionate about? What do I love about my own mind and sense of humor that I can come up with these strategies to make meetings less boring? There's all kinds of ways to bring love into your day. And then, of course, the ultimate expression of love is to do something for somebody else. And it doesn't need to be the Peace Corps. You can think during your boring meeting, you might buy somebody lunch. You might just ask them to go to lunch. Maybe, just like in middle school, it's grown-up version now. Maybe there's somebody new, or maybe he or she or they are not new, but they don't really click with anybody, and they're a good person. They're just quiet, shy, maybe. Maybe just ask them to go to lunch, okay? Or, maybe on the way home, offer to do something nice for somebody, or just pay it forward in some way. Some little act of kindness. Straighten somebody's desk. Maybe buy a cheap package of pens, since we're usually without them, and say, here you go. I'm passing out pens. I'm paying it forward. Everybody gets an extra pen today. Another fun thing is uplifting affirmations. You can just make them yourself on the computer. You're a rock star. You are kind. You are gorgeous. You are intelligent. And then start a thing. I had a friend at Champlain who did that years ago. Not exactly that. We do the affirmations at Champlain anyway. Also the I'm here to listen to you stickers, but also I had a friend who did a something for kindness. Basically, it was sticky notes, and she just like everywhere. So that's another idea. Okay, so keeping your mind focused on love. Pascal says, clarity of mind means clarity of passion too. This is why a great and clear mind loves ardently and sees distinctly what it loves. There we go. So the tips are: ask yourself questions all day long. What excites me? What makes me feel passionate? What do I love? What do I love that I'm looking at? Who do I love that I'm looking at? And then all the many ways to do small acts of conscious kindness. And that's it. This is Kimberly Quinn signing off from Northern Vermont. Have a mindful day and let it be full of love.